Well, it's Monday night. That means it's 9 o'clock Eastern time, and it is time for Dylan Talks Tone on youtube.com/Dylan Talks Tone. Also, on kprlive.com, we have a whole bunch of many things to talk about tonight. Very cool stuff, all about guitars. So, let's do this thing. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good.
I'm kind of excited tonight because I not only have to, but get to read this thing right here. Tonight's show is brought to you in part by Randy's Guitar Palace, a guitar repair and setup shop in Greenfield, Indiana. That's about 25 miles outside of Indianapolis. With over 40 years of guitar repair and playing experience, Randy can take care of all of your guitar repair and setup needs. Setups, fret leveling, rewiring, and more stuff that he can do. And he's a great guy, too. Check out Randy's work on his Facebook page at facebook.com/guitarphysician. I love that name. And his website, randysguitarpalace.com. I appreciate
You said it wrong twice.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, Randy's Luthier Palace. My bad. I really appreciate your help. Randy's Luthier Palace. It's really cool. He's a cool guy. So thank you for your help with our show this evening. So we have all kinds of stuff to talk about. But first of all, for those of you that are new to what we do here on Dylan Talks Tone on the YouTubes, Leslie, where can they see us and participate and such?
Well, we are live on kprlive.com is the radio show, and you can find us on video and in live chat over on youtube.com/Dylan Talks Tone. And I think you can do /live and just jump right in.
Okay.
After that.
Cool. That's good to know. And yeah, actually I noticed that the other day when I was making some links. So for those of you that are new to the YouTube channel, this is a Dylan Talks Tone YouTube channel. We have like over 300 videos all about guitar tone, and we talk about how guitars work. And not only that, just how to make them inspiring to help people play more. That's really the thing. We're going to get kind of nerdy tonight, but the whole point of what we do is to just help you play more, right? And maybe you won't waste money doing 3 things when you figured out that you didn't have to do anything at all to sound awesome, right? That's what we do. So that's what Dylan Talks Tone is. The cool part about how this works is we have this show. So this is Dylan Talks Tone live, like she was mentioning, on YouTube. We also have it on kprlive.com. It's also, we strip the audio out and we send that to a podcast. So right now it's on Google. I've submitted to go to iTunes, but that's not approved yet. So that's coming in the next couple weeks or so. But you can go to the Google Play Store and listen to us in the car and replay if you want. If you can't, if you don't have time to watch this. And you may be watching this in replay right now. So yeah, that's what it is. And if you're live with us, the fun part is that she is right here, right now, curating a live conversation with,
by curating, that means like lots of laughing.
They're talking, and she's got a whole conversation thread over there in the chat section on youtube.com/Dylan Talks Tone under that live window. And you can do that. And then if you want to ask a question, you can also use the super chat, get bumped to the top of the pile, all that kind of stuff. If you have a question. So tonight's main topic, and actually I didn't make a slide for it, I apologize, is we want to talk about treble bleeds, because people have been bugging me to talk about treble bleeds for a really long time now. And it's one of those subjects that is, as soon as I posted about this today on the internet, people were like, whoa, that's kind of controversial. Because some people like it and some people don't.
What do you think, Dylan?
I don't use them personally. However, I will say that as I was experimenting with them again, because of popularity of other people, saying, hey, you should try this or you should try that. And actually, kind of on
and
our
how they use it, right?
yeah, how it's used. And so we're going to get into let's talk about a couple of reasons here in a minute why you would actually use one and what you have to kind of keep in mind. Because here's the thing. They sell them as like an $8.99 or something accessory on a lot of guitar websites, and you just buy it and put it on. But not everybody likes them. Not everybody wants them, and you don't. It's one of those accessories or modifications that you don't have to put on your guitar just because it's available. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Like not everybody likes running boards on their truck. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it is handy to some people and it is not always useful. But it is not always useful. In my conversations with other people, as I was formulating a kit that we could sell on the website, because so many people want them, but I want people to really understand them. I talked to a few guys that played and was getting input about what components to use and what values they liked, and we were testing some stuff. It's like, I can see where people would like this in certain circumstances. So let's talk about what a treble bleed is, okay? And let me make sure that this is... Let's see. And then, we already have questions coming in. So let's talk about the fence post. Somebody wants to know about the fence post already. So here's the deal with the fence post. You guys have seen part one. Here's the problem. I'm not going to be able to do it in 2 parts, but I promised it in 2 parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release 2 and 3 on the same day. I shot part 2 today. I would have shot part 3 today, but it was raining and there was no way for me to actually play the fence post in the rain. So we're waiting for the weather to break. It will be done this week because I have to be out of town at the end of the week. So as soon as I get some sun, this project will get finished and I will upload. I could upload the second part right now, but then everybody would get upset because they're like, I thought you were going to do this in 2 parts. So I'm going to go ahead and do it in 2 parts. It's going to be B and C are going to come out on 2 and 3 are going to come out on the same day. Part 2 is going to be like putting the electronics all together and the other prep, because we did a soldering lesson as part of that, because everybody's been asking for a soldering lesson. So we did that as part of that. And I wanted that to be its own content. And then part 3 is going to be actually, let's bolt this all to the fence, tune it up and play it, put an amp in the backyard and all that kind of stuff. But obviously we had to wait for the rain. So the rain to stop. So that's what we're waiting for there. And then let's see. Somebody else asked about, can we get to a couple of these questions? I'm going to...
Regarding the weather, it was duct tape an umbrella to the peg head for extra reverb.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to answer one of these questions a little later. Can we hold the flame maple neck to maybe like the actual FAQ portion of the show? And then
I just send them to you. You do it.
And then what we'll do is because I'm going to talk about the P90 thing as we talk about this.
Yeah.
About this other thing, because that kind of comes into it too. So yeah, that's why that's not done yet. So let's talk a little bit more about this whole treble bleed situation, because I'm actually going to demo it. I got a guitar here with one of my kits on there. I'll show you. It's going to be fun. So a treble bleed basically is because the pickup, the volume pot, the jack, the cable, everything all together with the tone capacitor, all kind of, for lack of a better word, and you people on YouTube are going to lambaste me for putting it in one sentence, but basically it is a sort of low-pass filter all together when you lump the whole circuit together, okay? And basically what that means is the more you add to it, the more highs get taken away from it, okay? And so depending on the value of the pickup, depending on the value of the pots, that's why it all matters, right? So it's kind of a low pass filter, meaning the highs kind of get cut off and the lows are allowed to go through. Okay. Now, as we turn the volume down, that frequency tip over point lowers. So what that means is, as you turn the volume down, the highs go away even more. But here's the thing. Sometimes that's cool. For example, if you have a pickup that is really, really bright and really, really hits the amp super hard, and then you want to turn that volume down some and sweeten it up, then maybe you like that. Sometimes it works against itself and it just gets muddy. Okay? And so sometimes people like to put a volume mod or a treble bleed on there. I'm going to show you exactly what it is. First of all, let's look at what a low pass filter is, okay? Because basically it's just the opposite. So here is a low pass filter. The squiggly line to the left is a resistor. The bottom of the T right there that's on its way to ground is a capacitor. And then the other wire goes out to the amp. So the music comes in to the squiggly resistor. Some of that signal gets bled off to ground through a cap that actually affects what frequency that is, and then the rest of it goes off to the amp. For lack of a better word, this is exactly how your tone circuit in your guitar works. Okay, so that is what the tone circuit is. It's a low pass filter. Now I'm going to toggle quickly to a high pass filter, and I want you to keep your eye on this drawing as I switch. See where everything is at? Look what just happened. It's exactly the same thing, but backwards. So the signal comes in from the left, goes through a capacitor, and then straight out to the amp. But some of that gets bled off to ground through a resistor. Now there are many, so this is a high pass filter. So what's the difference? A low pass filter allows all the low frequencies to roll on through, cuts the highs off. A high pass filter cuts anything from the neck down or the chest down out and just lets the top end go through. Okay? Now the value of the resistor and the capacitor together is what determines that level. Okay? But here's the weird part about all this. The weird part is the resistance of the pickup, the inductance of the pickup, the capacitance of the pickup, the resistance of the pots, the capacitance of the capacitor, the capacitance of the cable, anything, believe it or not, when we're talking about this whole conversation, the entire frequency response of the guitar, everything before the first amplifier matters. So if you have a buffer in your tuner, it ends there. If you don't have any pedals and the amp is the first thing it hits, it ends there. So anything from basically the pickup to the first amplifier, it all matters in this overall frequency response. And so you'll hear people talk about the resonant peak of pickups and that sort of thing. We're basically taking that concept and we're zooming out and we're just saying the whole guitar put together. So this is why we need to think about it like this. Not every guitar needs one of these things. And it's really personal preference whether you like it or not. Because the way the tone pot, whether you have 50s or standard wiring, if you have 500 or 200K, 250K pots, if you have humbuckers or if you have single coils, if you have a very high capacitance cable or a low capacitance cable, are all factors in wondering if when you turn the volume down on your guitar, if it acts as too much of a low pass filter where you want to put a high pass filter on there to counteract it. That's all you're wondering. And so not every guitar wants it, but this is where I press you to experiment because this is really fun. It's a fun experiment and we made it really easy to be able to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to take a capacitor and a resistor and you're going to put it on your volume pot. Okay. Now look at this picture. It gives you a basic idea. Don't worry about the values of the capacitor and the resistor that you see here. Basically, you put a resistor and a capacitor in parallel across the two lugs of the volume pot that are not grounded. See the one that's soldered to ground? There's always one on a volume pot that's soldered to ground. It's the other two, okay? And the center one usually is the one that goes out to the jack, and then the other one is the one that comes either from the selector switch, like on a Tele, or straight from a pickup if you have like a single pickup guitar, okay? And that's how you hook those up. It's really super cool to be able to experiment with this and just figure out whether you like it or not. The components are not expensive, and it's just kind of fun. So let's do it. Let's do an experiment. And while we're getting this set up, is there anybody over there asking any questions regarding this? Because I've not been looking.
Not so far.
Okay. Well, let's grab this guitar. I'm going to try to do this without like making tons of noise. So over on our website at dylantalkstone.com, I put some of these on our website. And the way I did it is, let me see if I can show you up close. There's two different main values of capacitor and resistor. So what I did was you build it like that. So you basically solder it together like this, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm including both values. So the most commonly used for humbuckers, the most commonly used for single coils, and then two 12-inch leads with alligator clips. The same ones that we use for our experimental kit for our capacitors, our tone capacitors, okay? So what I did is I just clipped this on here, and we should basically have... Oh, and the other thing I did, so that you could kind of hear this back to back, is the volume on the guitar is set at 5. So what I'm going to do, this is going to simulate, or it's not going to simulate, it's actually going to do it. So we're going to play the guitar at 5 with the volume mod installed. Okay? And listen for the clarity and how much attack there is, and just how much treble is present with the volume mod at 5 on this guitar. This is with the tone pot all the way up. Okay? So let's do this. Just listen to this, okay? Okay, now I'm going to pull it off. You can immediately hear a difference from before and after. I'm going to go back. How about that for a before and after? Just all we did was clip and unclip the resistor and capacitor. So it makes a massive difference with this pickup at that volume setting with these pots and this particular setup that we have here. What do you think? Throw in the comments below. If you're watching this in replay, what do you think you heard? And then if you're watching it live right now, let me know what you're thinking, because and is this something that you want to explore more? Because again, instead of being one of those guys who's like, these things are terrible and I never want one, because I was that guy, you know it. I've brought it up that way before in our live shows. I am no longer going to be that way. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to experiment on every guitar that I have, whether I like this or not. So there's two different main values of capacitor and resistor. So there's a 0.002 microfarad capacitor with a 150K resistor that's most of the time used for humbuckers. And then there is another one that is a 220K resistor with a 470 picofarad capacitor that is most of the time used for single coils. But you've heard me say this many times. That's the rules, quote unquote. But it's all about your setup at the time, what you're using, how you're using it. So experiment with both. So what we did on the website was we just put them both. I think they're under $10 with all the kit. So you could do exactly what I did there and plug it in and be able to play and like swap it out and play around and learn, well, I like it at 5, but I don't like it at 8, or I like it the opposite, or, whatever. How are you personally going to use your guitar and with a couple different amps and a couple different pedals, and you can play around and really come to a conclusion whether you like it or not. And if you hate it, it's a cheap gamble to learn. But the thing is you might like it. Don't do what I did and just say, these things are terrible, I never want one. If you don't like it on this guitar, keep it around and try it on your other guitar. You know what I mean? Like that's the fun part. So and so related to this question, Luke Newsom asked, why does this volume pot not start working until it's like 75% of the way down? Is it bad pots or just the wrong type? And, Randy, I think you're dead on. I would agree with you to start here, Luke, and say, for those of you that are listening and not able to see it on the live chat, if you've got one of those pots that doesn't do anything, and then shuts right off, it's possible that the taper isn't very good for what you're wanting to do. If you have an audio taper pot or some less expensive generic audio taper pots taper's not very good, you could try a different pot, or you could try a linear taper. That is, you're right. I agree with you, Randy, on that one. So if you don't like the taper, the first thing to do would be try a different taper pot. So if you feel like you turn it down to 7 and it doesn't do anything, you turn it down to 5 and it doesn't do anything, and then all of a sudden it shuts off, then try the opposite of what's in there. It's probably an audio, and you can try a linear for sure. Yeah. So what do you think of the audio tape, or what do you think of the volume mod thing? Does it make sense? Like, it's one of those things where so many people, including myself, I am this guy who like made up my mind a long time ago that I hated these things. And thank you, YouTube Dylan Talks Tone community, for bringing this up and making me look at it again and be like, yes, there's a thing to it, and it might not be for every guitar that I own, but I can see where I would use it. I can definitely see where I would use it. How's it going over there on the YouTubes?
Well, we're talking about, we just saw some kind of documentary about cobalt and related to phones.
Mm-hmm.
But Randy saw something about somebody in Russia buying up all the cobalt because he thinks it's going to be valuable for batteries in electric cars, etc., and thinks it's going to affect the price of Alnico magnets.
That is interesting. I will tell you that I've been watching that as well. I've been watching that as well because it's nickel. It's mostly nickel and cobalt, and in an alnico magnet, and both nickel and cobalt are used in lithium-ion batteries. So, yeah, it's going to be higher demand for sure. I agree. Is it going to go up enough where is it going to go up enough where we have to worry about, raising the prices of pickups and stuff? That remains to be seen, and I think we're a long way down the priority chain, if that makes sense. If we had rechargeable batteries in guitars, it's possible that we would have to change the price on an active pickup system because there's so much of it in there. But I just don't see us being, as pickup builders, being on the high end of the priority of price changes, if that makes sense. Now, and not to get, I don't want to get political or anything, but the steel side of it in the United States right now, I see that being more of an issue than the cobalt thing because steel prices are already, since there's been some moves made in that realm in the last couple of weeks in this country, at least in the United States, there's already been movement in the prices of that. And so I've been watching that too. Because, for instance, the base plate of a pickup is the most important part, or it's the most expensive part. Like the base plate of a Telecaster pickup, for example, is the most expensive part of that pickup. It's more expensive actually than the wire itself that goes on it. So, there's things to watch, but I don't see that being the cobalt thing. I don't necessarily. It'll be a while before we feel it. I'll just say that. Let's see. Laura asks us, that's a girl. That's awesome. I'll tell you why. And not to make a huge deal out of this, but I'm like a huge numbers freak. I watch all of my analytics really good. And I'm like, dang it, we have 3% females that watch our show. And that's a bummer to me, not because of anything other than females that play guitar need to come out and take over, because I know there's a lot of you that do. And because I watch Instagram, and you're all over Instagram and you're all over YouTube, but we don't see a whole lot of you here. So welcome and thank you. That's very cool. Is there any difference in the cheap Chinese 500K pots and Seymour Duncan 500K pots? Okay. There is a big difference between cheap Chinese pots and good Chinese pots. And here's the reason I say that. No matter where you think they came from, they all came from China and Taiwan. So, there is I'll just tell you who it is. It's Emerson. Says that their pots are they're made in the United States, or whatever they say on their website. They're not. They come from Taiwan. Borns, CTS, all the Alpha, all the main pot manufacturers, potentiometer manufacturers come from, let's keep this specific, come from China and Taiwan. The best ones come from Taiwan, like Borns and CTS. And there is a difference. They are better. The tapers are better. Everything is better. I cannot answer the question specifically about Seymour Duncans because I do not know what they are. Because here's the thing. All of these Seymour Duncan and Emerson and all this stuff, all they are is relabeled, private labeled other pots. Okay? So, and they might say, well, we have a custom taper, or we have a custom tolerance, between pots. But all that means is they buy a whole bunch of them, and they literally have a dude with a meter checking them all. And they they keep all of the ones that are the closest in tolerance and either throw away or sell to somebody else the ones that are outside of their tolerance. So that's all they're doing. They're just making sure that they're all the same. Should your pots be 100% exactly the same? We have a whole video on this on our channel, but the bottom line is if your pots are doing two different things, so you have a volume pot and a tone pot, it doesn't matter because they're doing two different things. If you have two volumes and two tones, then try to get the two tone pots and the two volume pots to be as close as possible in value to each other. So like, you know, the 250K pot might be like 248 and the other one might be like 251. Like if you have an opportunity to choose, and you have two volumes and two tones, make sure that you take those four pots and put the two closest ones together, the tone pots, and the two other closest ones together, the volume pots, because they are doing the same job. Now, that being said, this goes back to our whole other conversation about all of this. And since the pickups are different, it doesn't matter anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But that's the nerdy answer. John asks, a 1960s Decca guitar has gold foil pickups. Can you educate me on them? I might put them in my Les Paul solid body. Gold foil pickups are so cool. I have one. I've had many, but I have one right now from Tim McNelly. It's a funny pickup. It's a single coil. It looks like a humbucker because it's wider. It has two rows of magnets in it, but it only has one coil most of the time. And it is got like, remember when shower curtains used to come with magnets in them? And they had, or like if you took apart a refrigerator seal and it had a magnet in it and it was like a bendy, like a rubbery bendy kind of magnet, that's what kind of magnet they have in them. And I don't know a whole lot about them except that whatever that is, that coil shape and that magnet type and stuff is what makes them sound the way they sound. There's nothing like those. They are so cool. And the parts are so specific. If you have real ones from the 60s, hang on to them. The chances are that the pickup is actually worth more than whatever guitar you have it in. So if let's say you have a 1960s Teisco or something, that guitar might be worth $400 or $200, but that pickup is probably worth $400 by itself. If it's a real one. I mean, those are cool. Yeah. If you can figure out a way to stick it in your Les Paul, I would at least try it. That would be a super fun experiment, and make a video and make sure I know about it because that's very cool. I'd like to see that. Absolutely. Oh, a Les Paul solid body. Yeah. No, that'd be super cool. That'd be fun. What else is going on over there?
Things I don't know anything about, so I'm just going to share it with you.
I'm trying to there was something else I wanted to talk about tonight.
You didn't put it on the agenda. I can't help you.
No. What taper type for volume and tone? This is all personal preference. I put audio taper pots on everything. I like audio. Some people put linear tone and audio volume. That's what they say. I like a audio tone pot because then you can do that like finger wah thing. Especially with a telly. So I do weird stuff. I do a 250, so like in a telly, I do a 250K audio taper volume pot and a 500K audio taper tone pot with a .047 cap. It's all wrong according to traditional people, but it works so good and it's so cool. Chris says, is that the same thing in the Mission VM Pro volume pedal? It has more high-end sparkle at low volumes. No, those are usually, that is a completely different taper of pot. It's usually, man, I have to say I don't know. Because I've not taken a mission apart. But some of the earlier volume pots than the mission, because I think the mission actually has an active circuit in it. But I can't honestly, to be 100% sure, tell you, I can't say that for sure. But the other older volume pedals had like a 250K pot in them, but they were a weird taper. And like a wah pedal, that's a special pot altogether. You can't, there's not even the same taper at all. So, completely different. Completely different. I would have to take one of those apart and see. I don't even know.
And then somebody was talking about gold foil pickups. And said they noticed that a lot of builders just make gold foil pickups that are like cosmetic rather than actual gold foil in design construction.
Yes, that is correct. Tim McNally Pickups, McNallyGuitars.com, McNallyPickups.com. Just type in McNally Pickups. Order a Tim McNally. They are not cheap. They're like 100. I just bought one. They're like $185, something like that. But his is legit. Like, it's really, really legit. The way he does it is correct. Yeah, we make a gold foil looking pickup, but it's a humbucker, just with a different cover. We just built one today. If you go to the Facebook page, you'll see that. Actually, for one of our listeners right now. It's going out to him tomorrow. So, yeah, those they're not real. Everything we make is based on a traditional humbucker, where the one that Tim makes is only like 1/4 of an inch tall. It's flat and wide. It's got that weird magnet in it. It's got the whole thing, all the shape is different. It's really cool. And it sounds completely different. That's what's in the red sparkle telly. If you follow our channel at all, you'll see me playing sometimes a red sparkle telly. That's the one that has the gold foil in the neck position. The real gold foil. Good point, though, because a lot of them are fake. And that's why you got to know, even in the cheaper guitars from the 60s, not all of them had real ones in those either. So kind of knowing what you're looking for.
And so based on what you just described, so what do gold foil pickups sound like compared to humbuckers and single coils? Is there an easy explanation for that?
They are a single coil. And they are fatter and bigger and smoother. You know how Strat sounds like it's got like a tubular kind of hollow sound, and it's really jangly, kind of lots of crispy top end. So a gold foil has more from the bottom, and it's smoother. It's not as crispy and jangly high end. It's like jazzier sounding almost. It still has tons of clarity because it's a single coil, but like jazzier sounding, I guess. I don't know. I love it. You know what I should do, actually?
What should you do?
I should do a video, because right now I have a telly with a Jazzmaster pickup in the neck, a telly with a telly pickup in the neck. I have a Strat. I have a humbucker with a coil split. And I have, what else? I have a bunch of different single coils in neck positions of guitars with the same scale length. So it would be fun to just be like, let's just play all of these guitars, and they're all different pickups that are kind of the same. I don't have any P90s, but that might be kind of a cool video to do. Just to do a comparison between single coil, single coil, single coil, single coil. That they're all of them are different, even though it's just wire wrapped around the middle. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know. So, no, that's really cool. Thanks for bringing up those questions about that stuff. I dig it a lot. Oh, I know what else I wanted to talk about tonight. So, I got the new soldering iron in too. And you guys probably saw you probably saw me just do like the unboxing and playing around with it a little bit. I shot a really good video with it today. That thing is killer. So there's a couple questions that came in over the. Let's talk about these while people are talking about stuff. A couple questions came in over the internet over the week that I thought I would just leave for right now. Somebody asked me a couple different people asked me, I saw that soldering iron on DylanTalksTone.com, but I was wondering if it was overkill for me because I'm just a hobbyist and I only, use it every once in a while. My answer to that is it's less than $40, okay, on Amazon. If you click on that one on our website, it'll take you to Amazon and you can buy it. It's less than $40. It's like almost professional quality. So it's like a hugely valuable buy. But the biggest thing is, if you ever go on the internet and you hear people like, oh, I have such a hard time soldering and I can never get it to look like that. Most of the time, it's either because their soldering iron sucks or they don't keep their work still. But most of the time, it's because they have like a little 10-watt soldering iron from Radio Shack in 1985 and it doesn't work very good and they can never get good even heat. So my point is, $40, great soldering iron. It'll make it so easy. It's not overkill. It'll make it so easy that you will actually want to and enjoy working on your guitar, and it won't be this thing where you're just constantly fighting it. You won't fight the work. So it's worth having it. It's not overkill at all. And I'm using that one on 3.5 for those of you, because I know a few of you have bought it already because you've messaged me and said, hey, I ordered this. I use mine on 3.5 for most stuff, and I think if I go down to probably 3 for really small wires, because 3.5 is a little hot. But you got to remember, I'm doing like base plates and stuff, and wire on the back of pots and stuff. But when that next video about the fence postcaster comes out, you'll see it, some how-to stuff, and you'll dig it. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. And then somebody also asked, let's see, do you have any guitars with a Veritone? I need to build a Veritone switch. I'm going to actually have somebody else build me a Veritone switch. I'm going to have Jimmy build me a Veritone switch so I can use it in a video. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to text him right after the show. I've got a friend of mine that makes some fancier, more complicated wiring harness stuff, and I'm going to see if he'll build me a Veritone that we can use. So we can do some experiments, kind of like we did with this guitar tonight. That was kind of fun to be able to live do an experiment like that. So we'll try to do that. And so, Luke, if you keep on me about that, because I'm going to do that. Actually, I'm going to text him as soon as I get done with this show. Iggy Tommy says, have you ever investigated the Valco 5060's Vistatone pickups in some Supro airline guitars? I have not investigated them. I have played them, and they are fantastic, and I want a real one. I had the opportunity to buy a real Supro about 8 or 9 months ago in Nashville, and it was just not the right time, and I literally was holding it in my hand thinking, I wish I could take this home right now, because it had those pickups in it, and I really, really wanted it. So I have experience playing them, but I have not taken them apart. I don't know what's in there or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. We had one other question come in. This was over Facebook earlier. Somebody was asking me, let's see if I can find this really quick. Was asking about, I was watching this video. If we change the frequency of the A string and then tune the guitar accordingly, can just the tones of our music cause emotional changes in people? Like if somebody listened to an instrumental piece recorded at 440 standard tuning and didn't like it, but then heard the same piece at a different tuning, would their opinion of the composition change?
Wow.
Yeah. So this is really cool. This is really, really cool. There are all kinds of articles on 432 hertz versus 440 hertz for your A. So basically, tune your A to 432 hertz. We actually went to an open mic night a couple weeks ago where there was a gal who tuned everything to 432 and sang and wrote music. And it did have a different feel. Completely different feel.
Even if you're not conscious of it, it's
Yes.
very eerie.
It is. It definitely changes it. So speaking of that, if you go to, and I don't know if the link is on the KPR Live website or not, but the host of, just so you guys know, if you want to hear this stuff, it's really, really cool. If the host of the Wednesday night show on KPRLive.com, Gear Guys Radio, Jack Harrison, has done a whole record at 432. And all this other stuff, the way he splits the intervals and stuff, the reason is because he has and it's not just a belief, there's a lot of science behind it, that the viewer that asked this question earlier about emotions changing, there's also like health things and stuff that can change. He was telling me that there's been research done to say that 440 hertz can kill cancer cells at 10,500 decibels. Like you literally can't handle it. Like you have to be like submerged in water, and there has to be all this stuff. But they've done research, like you could kill. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of things about this. It's called mindtoybox.com.
Yes.
Yeah, mindtoybox.com. Go there and check that crap out. It is so cool. It will, for those of you that are really in tune to music and are really affected by music. You know, the reason I say that is because we tried listening to the same thing and didn't hear the same thing or feel the same thing, same results from it, if that makes sense. But it's a weird kind of a goofy thing to say that I can really feel music, right? And those of you that can't, you will hear it. It is different. So check it out, mindtoybox.com. I told Jack that I was going to plug that tonight because when I saw this question earlier, when this question came in, I was like, I know just the guy to talk to. So I texted him and I was like, give me some details about this, how your music is recorded. And then I'm going to talk about it tonight because somebody asked this specific question. So,
Yeah, no, that's really cool. We
super
actually
cool.
have one of our listeners said they've listened to the tracks and it's helped him with PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
So
it helps me sleep. There's a couple of tracks on there that he actually designed with certain, I don't understand all the science because there is science to it, like how your sleep patterns work and stuff. I mean, I'm not a scientist or a doctor or anything, but he's got it built into like these segments where like it puts your brain into this particular mood and then the frequency changes and then it goes for this so long or whatever. All I know is it helps me sleep. It is the coolest thing. And you're going to say you are a quack. Just go listen to it because even if it doesn't do what it says on the box for you, because everybody's affected differently, you will be like, whoa, this is pretty wild. Like, if you appreciate music, and I know you do, that's why you're here. It's very, very cool. It's very cool. Yeah.
And again, we're not the experts on that, but it's
Yeah, no, but he is the
but
guy
we
that
do know
recorded that
somebody.
is and if you ever have technical questions about it, ask him. Go to mindtoybox.com, read. He has a whole bunch of stuff about it. Read all about it, how it all works and all that. And then and then if you have questions about it, you can ask him. He's really super smart about it. The one thing I will say is don't get it confused with like those weird like orgasm noises that you can listen to on YouTube. What are they called?
What?
What are they called? That it's some I don't know. Remember what it's called? Remember, it's a made up science. Somebody made it up like a couple years ago. Some lady, and it's called audio something some I don't know. Anyways, it's all over YouTube.
Oh, the audio sensory whatever ASMR something.
Yes,
MSR.
ASMR, whatever that stands for. Anyway, it sounds like
Yeah.
like people having sex like or something. It's weird. It's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's not that. This is not that. This is something completely different.
And
I
not
just want,
made up.
and not made up. I just yeah, I googled it and apparently like a few years ago some lady
Just named it.
just named it that and started calling it that
Yeah.
and then got on some talk shows or something and all of a sudden it's a thing. So I wish somebody would come on my talk show and then it became a thing. Like my talk show became a thing.
It is a thing.
It already is a thing. Yeah. Did you know that yesterday we had 8,500 people watch our channel? That just blows my mind. I think by the end of the week, we'll be over 750,000 views on our little channel. It's so cool. So cool. It's been so fun so far.
People took you so seriously.
What?
I guess people really follow the ASMR.
Oh, do they? So they're all like offended?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Google it. Do your own research. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Do check out the mindtoybox.com.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, I'm not an expert on it all. I just tried to research some of it because I was curious about it to try to help me sleep, because I have really severe back injury, so I'm in constant pain all the time. And last night I stubbed my toe. So that's the other thing. I forgot to tell you about this today. So Jack texted me this morning and he said, "Hey, I did another one of these experimental tracks, like what we're talking about. I emailed it to you last night. Did you get a chance to read it, to listen to it?" And I was like, I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I was going to use it to fall asleep last night. But I'm getting into bed and I stubbed my toe, my pinky toe on my right foot so bad it rips the toenail off. And let's just say that completely ruined the mood for any sort of like laying down and trying to relax and chill, because my foot was throbbing like 3:30 in the morning. I move my foot and it catches the sheet and wakes me up wide awake, So it was one of those nights going to bed last night because I stubbed my little right pinky toe, of all things, and ripped the toenail off. So that's why I don't have a sock on this foot right now while we're doing this show, because I can't do it. I can't put a sock on it. Is there anything else over there?
Nothing productive that I'm going to say. No.
Okay. So speaking of not productive, but incredibly popular, speaking of people taking things way too seriously, did you guys obviously watched, if you follow this channel at all, I'm sure you've seen our 3 ways to make your strat into a per strat, which is the PRS strat. That video, I don't know how many views it has now. It has a lot of views for our channel, because our channel's, it's not like Casey Neistat or anything, but it has a lot of views. And there are people that are like, "Well, didn't you address such and such a problem or this or that?" And I'm like, this was satire. I was really trying to make it appear, make it apparent that this was a satirical thing, but apparently some people really took it serious. Let's see. I don't know how many people have watched it. Well, 730 people have watched in the last 48 hours. In the last 24 hours. 2,000 people have watched it so far. So, anyway, super funny.
So you did skip a question earlier about a neck.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And you have 5 minutes.
And we have 5 minutes. That's a perfect amount of time to answer it. He wants to know, let's get this accurate. Let me go back. I just want to make sure. Because I hate it when I ask a question and they talk all about everything else except for answering
Any
the question.
experience with figured flame maple necks? I'm thinking about replacing my Strat neck.
Absolutely. I do have tons of experience with them. Marcus, if you are in the United States, feel free to shoot me an email at dylan@dylanpickups.com, and I will turn you on to a quality neck that you can buy for your Strat. Here's the deal. If you're going to do figured maple, do not cheap out. And here's why. The neck of the guitar. This one actually has got some pretty nice figuring in it, actually. The neck of the guitar obviously has to have strength this way, and it has to have strength this way. Figuring means that the grains go across this way. Now, it's not that the grains go across this way, but it's like the tree was so heavy that it got like elephant ankles in it, like squished down. So structurally, the tree is not the same as it is when you have the grains going this way. Okay, so if you have those swirls going across this way, it will not be as strong as a normal neck. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that you might have to adjust it more often. The way to combat that is to get it baked. You ever heard like a baked maple neck? And there's a place that I use for some of my builds that I buy necks from that I can send you to that will do it properly. And then what that does is that caramelizes all the moisture and the sap in the wood, and it will stabilize that neck some. Now, normally torrefying necks or baking necks a lot of times it can be a little bit of a gimmick. But in that case that we're talking about right now, it can serve to stiffen and strengthen the neck so that you do not have so much motion. So yes, it's very cool and it's very pretty, but just make sure you get a good one because you don't want to have to be chasing your fretboard all the time, you know. So that's that. So if you want to shoot me an email, I'll send you a link to a place you can get. You could buy it from me, but I'll just send you straight to the place. That'll be cheaper for you, and you can get every little thing that you want. Spec wise and stuff. I think you'll super dig it. I want to thank everybody for saying hello tonight and being a part of our conversation. This has been super fun. I noticed that we had some new people. We had some new faces. We had a girl. It was awesome. And yeah, we had some new listeners. I really appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Make sure that you check us out on all of the social medias and Instagram. We're using Instagram a lot lately. Facebook page at Dylan Pickups or Dylan Talks Tone. Instagram at Dylan Talks Tone. YouTube at Dylan Talks Tone. Hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday you will see a fence post making music. That is what we're going for. So we just have to hope that the weather's good. Tomorrow it's still going to be rainy for like half the day, but I'm hoping that tomorrow or Wednesday we're going to be making music with a fence post. And other than that, if you have any questions or anything you want us to make a video on, we'll make a video just for you. You know, we always do that. So keep in touch with us throughout the week. Otherwise, I think it is time that we will just say we will see you on the internet.